I discovered that the carbs in my beloved treat release a quick feel-good dose of serotonin, and that the high-fat content of that neon orange cheese boosted my dopamine levels. That soothing, calm, and energizing lift wasn't only in my imagination. I really was experiencing a chemical reaction, just as if I'd taken drugs to counter my low feelings. Significantly, both prescription meds and street drugs boost serotonin and dopamine. Prozac and Zoloft, antidepressants that are effective for treating anxiety, increase the amount of serotonin available for our brains to use, while the street drug ecstasy, or MDMA, floods our brain with it, producing that over-the-top, blissed-out, everything-is-fabulous sensation that we've all seen portrayed in movies and on TV. Who knew that pasta, white bread, and donuts were cheap, quick, and legal ways to get a mini version of that same high? Likewise, the antidepressant Wellbutrin lifts dopamine levels, as does nicotine, amphetamines, and cocaine. But so do bacon, potato chips, and other high-fat foods. I realized that when my patients talk about self-medicating with food, it isn't just a metaphor. They really are altering their brain chemistry, often in much-needed ways. It doesn't matter if their low levels of feel-good chemicals were inherited or are the result of a traumatic series of life events. They just know that they don't want to feel as bad as they're feeling. When people would talk about food addictions, I realized that it wasn't a metaphor. Just as you can become dependent on a nicotine fix or a cocaine high, so can you grow to rely on the effects of high-carb or high-fat foods. So that was why I had turned into a food addict. But how had it happened? How I became a carb junkie. I was 15 years old when my family changed forever. We were on vacation in Las Vegas. One morning, we were walking through the hotel lobby, headed on a day-long trek to a national park, when my 10-year-old brother, David, suddenly vomited. My mom urged me and the rest of my family to go ahead while she stayed behind to nurse my brother through whatever virus he'd picked up. He didn't seem to be in such bad shape, so we thought it was okay to leave. This was in the days before everyone had a cell phone, and we were gone for 8 hours. When we returned, they weren't at the hotel. They were in the intensive care unit at a nearby hospital. There, I was greeted with a shocking sight. My little brother hooked up to machines and covered in tubes, unable to speak a word. When his eyes found me, he let out an unearthly wail I will never forget. My brother David had a massive stroke right after we left. I stared at him, unable to move. Then I heard a terrible sobbing. It was coming from my strong, unshakable grandfather as he stood beside my brother's bed. In that moment, everything I thought about adults being infallible simply collapsed. I would never again feel safe as a child. I also knew that I had to be the most perfect, most helpful son in the world. How could my family survive if I wasn't? Our 3-day vacation turned into a 3-month stay as we waited for my brother to be released from the hospital. I remember going to some Vegas mall with my mom so she could have something else to wear besides the 3 changes of clothes she had brought for our brief trip. Suddenly she started crying, unable to figure out what to buy. So there I was, picking out blouses and pants for my mom, terrified to think that she was depending on me. My anxiety levels were off the charts and would stay that way for the next several years. Even now, this is part of my psychology and always will be, although I have learned to understand and manage it. It was 8 years and several surgeries before my brother, the victim of a rare brain disease, would improve. He still only has limited use of his right arm. I spent those formative years eating chips, rice, and pasta. I learned how comforting mac and cheese could be. A whole box could actually calm me down. I lifted my spirits with 5 or 6 cans of full sugar soda a day, and I suppressed my constant worries with a never-ending parade of snacks. My lunch at school every day was a huge bag of fries, and I popped Now and Later.